Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Life and Happiness Podcast, the show that takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible.
Welcome to GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Alyssa Jo. Hello. How is it going today? I hope you're having a wonderful day so far. I hope you're feeling positive and good. I know there's a lot going on in our world, and that's kind of what has motivated today's episode. There's a lot of things going on in our world right now that's causing all different types of emotions, and which is normal. It's quite the unusual world we're living in right now, and we all are making huge adjustments, and we have been making huge adjustments for the past couple months at least. And I just thought it was time to talk about emotions, and particularly one emotion, which is anger, because it is okay to be angry. And I find that anger is such a misunderstood emotion. We often feel like we have to suppress it. And with just everything that's going on, I know so many people are angry, and I know sometimes, people don't act on their anger quite appropriately the way that they should. But I just wanted to talk about anger today because it is okay to be angry, and angry doesn't have to be negative. We can use anger in a positive way. Anger is actually protecting us, and I'm going to jump into lots of information about kind of what it does for us, what it does to us. There is definitely some physical effects that anger can be associated with, so some health problems, and I'll talk about that. But I'm also, really wanting to talk about how just anger is not a behavior. It is an emotion, and I just want to talk about channeling that anger into, a positive way, trying to move it forward in a good light, because I just think that there's so much going on, and there is so much emotion, and anger especially. I think there's a lot of anger and frustration right now in our world because, things are just kind of flipped upside down, and it's just a lot going on, and it's a lot of chaos. And of course we're going to be angry with the things that are happening, and of course we want to act on that, and we want to try to do everything we can to, make things better. And when we strongly care about something like our world, our country, our people, of course we're going to get heavy emotions for that. And right now it's more negative emotions than it is positive emotions. And, but anger doesn't have to be negative. And, we can channel that energy and that emotion into something more positive, or we can just channel it in a positive light, because there is positive lights to do with anger, and it's not always associated with danger or aggression or, all of those kind of things. And I just don't want people to close off on their emotions these days, because every emotion is valid, every emotion is important, and it can be really beneficial and helpful in so many different life scenarios. And we're going through quite the odd 2020, I would have to say. The whole year has been quite interesting, and especially recently, of course. And I just thought that talking about channeling your anger into a right direction is just going to be super beneficial for everything going on right now, and just understanding exactly what anger is, and that it's okay to feel it, and that it's actually unhealthy to try to suppress it. And of course, it's not healthy to act in an aggressive way due to your anger. And I'm going to talk things about that too, how we can move on from our anger, because a lot of the time we hold on, and it is okay to be angry, especially, with everything going on right now, it is so normal to feel that kind of emotion. But we do have to learn how to let go of it, or else we're never going to be able to move on or maybe look at things in a different light. Sometimes anger can cloud our vision and the way that we are viewing things. And I think that's kind of the negative part of it, because it makes us see things differently, or makes us feel, that kind of, it's that feeling inside, that anger is it's quite the emotion, right? It's especially when you're feeling it to an extreme, and there's so many different ways to go about it, just like there is every emotion. But I just find that anger has this negative light on it, and I want to try to shine a positive light on it, and just let you know that it's okay to be angry, and you should be angry. Life isn't fair all the time, and it's so normal to want to change things and to feel passionate about changing the world and changing your life or changing other people's lives. And it's so cool to see people come together and for one common goal, to make change in our world. And I think it's super cool. But with everyone coming together, that comes with a lot of emotions, a lot of tension, and anger is quite present in today's world and everything that's going on. So first and foremost, anger is a misunderstood emotion. We feel like we need to suppress it, but anger is an emotion and it's not a behavior. Feeling anger is not the same as behaving with aggression, hostility, all that kind of stuff. It is completely different. It is not a behavior, it is an emotion. That is the most important thing to understand when you see somebody that is angry. And yes, maybe they are acting out in a way that they wouldn't normally, but all emotions make us do that. If you've ever felt extreme, deep sadness, depression, that makes you act differently. Whether you're really excited or you're really sad or you're really mad, all these different types of emotions make us act differently because they make us feel some type of way inside. And it's important to understand that it doesn't have to reflect our behavior, and we can channel that energy into different types of behavior. We can move that emotion and use it efficiently, and it can benefit us in so many ways. So anger is valid. Anger is useful. The thing is without anger, victims would endure injustice. It's as simple as that. We need anger. It is valid. It is useful. It is something that is so present in today, and it has to be present because victims would endure injustice if it wasn't for anger, if it wasn't for that emotion to protect us and to get us, up front and passionate about something. Like, I find when someone is really angry, they must really, really care, because anger is an intense emotion. And I'm going to go through kind of a little bit more of the science behind it and how it all comes up and why. But it is something that we can use to our benefit, so let's use it properly. And experiencing anger is totally fine, but acting aggressively or suppressing anger is really unhealthy. And anger is really just the tip of the iceberg. It's a secondary emotion that basically arises when we feel unsafe, when we feel unsteady. Anger is protecting us. It is actually our protector emotion. Strange enough, right? Because it sounds, sometimes we have this bad view when maybe someone else is angry and they are acting, out of aggression and just a little bit, hostile or whatever the case is. And we tend to be scared of that person. Oh, I'm scared when he is angry or when she is angry. And it doesn't have to be scary. Anger actually happens when we are scared, and we just need to use it properly, or else we will scare people and we will use it in a unfair way. And so it's just like every other emotion. I just find right now it's so apparent. But anger is motivating. It may not feel good to be angry, but it can really inspire us to act rather than kind of retreat. So when we feel that tense of anger inside of us, that is motivating to get up and do something. Have you ever just got really mad at something and all of a sudden it's a boost of energy? I need to fix this. I need to do something about this. I find that anger is our emotion that we act upon almost immediately, because it is such an intense feeling that we have inside of us that it is almost impossible not to act on immediately. So it is okay to act on your anger. And I'm going to talk about acting on your anger in appropriate ways. I'm going to talk about how it does affect our bodies and our minds and the things that we can do. And then I'm also going to be talking about, ways that we can not suppress anger, but we can move on from anger and resentment. And we can try to live our lives in a different kind of light with our emotions. And, it's all about being aware of yourself and being aware of your emotions and understanding your own emotions. We're all different when we feel different emotions, right? There's kind of the basic stereotype of things that we do when we feel angry or sad or excited, but there's also, things that individuals do that not everyone does. And so I just want to talk about channeling your energy, that anger, into, positive, beneficial ways for our world, because there is so many emotions going around, and we have to use every ounce of our body, every ounce of all of our emotions and our thoughts and everything we have inside of us to try to make positive change for everybody in this world. And so we got to make sure that we are channeling our emotions appropriately, because if we are not, we are just causing more chaotic stress. And don't we all want to be living that happy and healthy life? Then we need to avoid that chaotic negativity, that extra stress, the aggression, all of that kind of stuff. We need to get that out of the way, and we need to channel it into a positive light and to something that's going to benefit our lives, everybody's lives, in a positive, healthy way. Okay, it is time for a little bit of a break, but when we get back, I'm going to be jumping right into how anger is not a behavior. It is an emotion and kind of what it does to our bodies. So stay tuned. We will be right back.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back to GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Alyssa Jo. We are talking about anger today. Anger is a misunderstood emotion that we should not suppress. It is healthy to feel that emotion. We just need to make sure that we are acting upon it appropriately. So anger is not a behavior. It is an emotion. It is a threat that is activated. It's a threat-activated neurophysiological arousal response. So this basically means that it is created when a threat triggers the brain to send out a rallying cry to our body, basically putting the troops on high alert. That is why we get this boost of energy. We are ready to go. It is sending out these signals to our body. It is time to get moving. It is time to make a move. And so it is all about the threat-activated neurophysiological response. That is what's happening. It is not, in that definition, it does not include anything about aggression or hostility or, anything kind of negative that way. It is literally this arousal response that we have because it's threat activated. It actually is protecting us. It is putting our troops on high alert. Hey, we got a problem. We're going to have to go into battle right now. So it is not something that we should suppress because it is natural. It doesn't have to be violent or aggressive. Those words are things that people do. That's describing what people do. It's anger basically describes how you feel, right? So anger isn't aggression. It's not violence. Those are things that people do. Anger is the way that you are feeling. So anger can activate aggressive behavior, but it doesn't always, and it doesn't have to. That's why we need to make sure we are channeling our anger into the right areas of our lives in the right light so that we are using it appropriately. So the difference between anger and aggression, it's extremely crucial. Anger is this evolutionary, hardwired, physiological, automatic thing in our body. It's real. It is an emotion. And aggression is an action that is exercised by a person's free will. And that's the definition. So when we can actually see the difference between anger and aggression, we can actually respect the emotion of anger and the behavior of, the aggression as well. You see the difference and you respect the difference. That is so important to understand that, because there are so many stereotypical and judgmental things, even all over the internet. Our online is covered with these negative things about anger and these emotions, and really, it doesn't have to be. So the next thing is, imagine if there was a world without anger. Okay, so crime, violence, injustice, all those kind of wrongs would still happen. People can steal, they can assault, they can cheat, bully, they can, do all these types of things without an ounce of anger in them. It's just a lot of the time, people are angry when they do violent crimes. It's just, it is true. But if there was, without anger, our world was without anger, there would still be crime and violence and injustice. So we have to make sure that we're using anger appropriately. I'm going to be saying that so many times in this episode, I swear. But feeling angry is your brain's way of keeping you safe. It is saying, okay, we got a problem. We got to do something about it. But anger is also associated, it can have an effect on our bodies. It's associated with heart disease. So there has been some studies that examine different links of anger and health problems, like anger and hypertension. And they tend to find that frequently behaving aggressively and habitually repressing anger are associated with hypertension and heart disease as well. So anger is an emotion, but aggression and stewing are different behaviors. So basically what researchers are really finding is that behaving in an aggressive way and bottling up anger is linked to heart disease. So if you are not using your anger appropriately, then yes, it can have a very negative impact on your body. But our emotions don't need to have that negative impact if we use them in the right sense. So basically experiencing anger and describing the experience does not cause cardiovascular changes that increase disease risk. It raises cortisol, but that's the only problem if it's prolonged or chronic kind of anger. But, anger and fear often go hand in hand. And so anger is often a secondary emotion that only arises when we continue to feel unsafe. So when these researchers measure whether someone is habitually angry, they also tap into whether they might be habitually afraid, vulnerable, sad, or anxious. And then these scientists look at the biological consequences of anger and versus other emotions that are side by side. And it becomes clear that anxiety and sadness are what causes inflammation, not anger. Many people think it's anger that causes that inflammation, but it's not. So it really is that it's just the way that you're holding on to anger that is going to have a negative impact on your body. That constantly being angry, constantly holding on to resentment, and constantly holding on to that emotion can have a hard strain on your body, just like it can with sadness. Sadness can have a very hard strain on your body as well if you're not able to let go of it. So we always have to make sure that we are aware of our emotions and that we're able to use them appropriately. I said it again, but use them appropriately so that we aren't damaging our body or anything or anyone else. So anger feels quite unpleasant. I get that. And that's why it's also, I think, so easy to associate with such a negative emotion. But research shows that our brains and bodies get activated almost as if we're just kind of jazzed up. So when we feel angry, our brain's electrical signals show an approach activation is what it's called. And it's similar to when we feel positive of like positive emotions like joy and happiness. So cool little fact here. You know, when we smile, there's the muscles underneath our eyes, they twitch, right? And you can tell when someone's fake smiling compared to a real smile because of the muscles under their eyes. This is the same when you're angry. Those same muscles under your eyes twitch. Have you ever been so mad you actually feel like a twitch in your face? Like, I have felt that before. Like, and I know so many people have, where you get angry and you're like, oh my God, my face is like twitching. It's because your muscles are contracting and they're working, and it's making you literally twitch because of this high emotion. So basically, you know, anger is kind of like joy. Is in the sense of it activates those muscles in our faces, and it basically motivates us rather than making us retreat. So same with joy, you know, it makes us motivated, it makes us happy, it makes us go out there and get things started. Same with anger. So the function of anger is to help us stand our ground, to defend ourselves, to seek out positive change. That is why you feel angry right now. That is natural to feel angry right now, because you are seeking out positive change. You are seeking out to defend yourself and to defend others that are being treated unfairly. That is why you're feeling so much built up anger, and it is so natural and so normal. So we have to make sure that we understand that. Anger isn't a destructive force of violence. Violence is a destructive force of violence. It's as simple as that. It doesn't have to go hand in hand. You don't have to be violent because you're angry. It's so simple. Well, I shouldn't say it's so simple, because our high emotions make us do things that we don't normally would do if we're in a calm or happy or, just content emotion feeling, right? But when we feel those high extremes, whether we're really, really angry or we're really, really sad, it makes us act out. It makes us do things that maybe we're not so proud of, or that we normally wouldn't do if we were at a content state in our lives or in that moment. So we have to understand that, yes, you are going to feel, you might act out, and it's just having to get that grasp on yourself and understanding exactly kind of why you are feeling that way. I'm going to talk about that, how we can let go of our anger, and a big thing is understanding your trigger of your anger and understanding what is making you feel that way, so that you can kind of pinpoint that and then direct it in a better direction, right? You can move that into a more positive pathway and use it to a more beneficial way for everybody, right? And so mainly what I want you to get from this right now is that if you are feeling angry, you are seeking out positive change. That is why, because so many people want to see this positive change in our world. So many people want to stand up for themselves and stand up for others, and that is why you are angry. And so we need to stand our ground, and we need to defend ourselves, we need to defend others, and we need to seek out that positive change 100%. But we need to make sure that while we are doing those things, we are using our anger and our emotions in the right way. Okay? All right, it is time for another break. But when we get back, I'm going to jump right into the tips of exactly how we can let go of that anger and channel it into a more positive light. So stay tuned. We will be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
to GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast. All right, let's jump right into it of how we can let go of our anger and we can channel it into more positive streams that are way more beneficial for ourselves and for others. So, memories can trigger your anger. Assumptions can trigger your anger. Interpretations can trigger your anger. Anything can make you mad. Everything can make you angry, right? Totally depends on the person. And so understanding where your anger is coming from is a very crucial first step into overcoming the anger and moving it into a better light. So understand, what makes you feel angry. A lot of times people feel like I'm always angry. It's just, everything makes me mad. It's, okay, you got to find out exactly what is happening. And the thing, anger is a habit. Anger is a habit that can be reversed though. So you can learn how to let go of your resentment. If you feel like you're always angry, like you're always mad at things, like this is just a heavy emotion that's just always hovering over you, there is ways that you can learn to let go of it. And so chronic feelings of anger are a learned trait. It's very important to understand that, especially if you're feeling low on yourself or feeling constantly angry and stuff. Chronic feelings of anger are a learned trait. There is something that made you chronically feel anger. That is just how it is. And so you have to be able to be aware of yourself. And I think, self-reflection. Understand yourself every single chance you get, and you will understand why you are holding on to that anger, or maybe why you develop chronic anger. If you grew up in a hostile household and you were often the victim of someone else's angry behaviors in the past, or if you were somehow rewarded for your anger, such as, being feared by different peers for bullying behavior, something like that, then this can all start being chronically angry, and that's how that begins. So some ways to start reversing these feelings are just becoming aware of your anger, preparing yourself to react differently in the future too. So this is becoming aware of your triggers, becoming aware of your emotion when you can feel it building up, and so that you can take action in an appropriate way. And then also you can seek out help and manage your emotions and maintain a new mindset. So I'm going to jump more into some more details about that, but it's all about learning and self-exploration, and that's a huge thing of letting go of anger. You have to understand yourself and your point of view and what is triggering that anger. So this is not easy. This takes time. You're going to need some support. Like, it's not something that you can just drop, especially if you have that chronic anger, or if you're just someone who just feels really angry right now or at certain situations, then it's a little bit easier to try to let go of that. So recognize when you feel angry. Try to determine the cause. If the cause is something that you can change or control, or is it out of your hands? You got to ask yourself these questions. Is your anger being caused by someone who maybe you'll never see again? Or is your anger being caused by a family member or a friend? This is important to recognize, because anger that you feel when dealing with people who you are close to involves, an ongoing interaction. And handling these situations in the best possible way is super important to hold on to that relationship, because anger and resentment is one of the number one ways that you lose friends, family members, and people that are close to you, because we can hold on to things. It's human to hold on to things, but it can really destroy relationships. You have to ask yourself, is someone making me angry? Is it someone I'm going to see again? Is it someone I'm close to? You got to try to figure that out in that relationship if you are close to that person, because that can tear apart your relationship. Another way to recognize the source of your anger is just to take a step back and kind of evaluate your life. Are you kind of where you thought you were going to be? Or maybe you have some anger on yourself. You feel some resentment for yourself. You feel, I didn't accomplish the things I wanted to accomplish by this age. And, maybe you're dealing with that. Unhealthy relationships and past experiences are also definitely a common source of anger. So when one person is feeling very vulnerable, you can kind of get triggered from past experiences, maybe something when you were a child or anything like that. So understanding your past and looking at your life in a bigger picture is a super beneficial way to try to pinpoint your anger and move on from it. Of course, practicing relaxation techniques. Aromatherapy is really good. There's definitely a lot of different essential oils, stretching, yoga, anything that you do, if you can take a bubble bath, anything that's going to make you relax. Maybe you just like reading a book or watching Netflix helps you relax, or having a hot tea or something like that. So try to find your relaxation techniques that work for you. Getting daily exercise. This is one of the most effective ways to reduce anger and stress. I talk about this constantly. Exercise is so good for our emotions. It can really release things out of us. So physical exercise basically just gives you the chance to release your emotions. So go on a walk, go for a run. It can just really help calm your body down when you're feeling really tense. Exercise can also help increase the release of endorphins in your body, of course. So this will naturally make you feel better, and it's going to reduce your stress levels. So find a healthy hobby. Maybe you start getting into rollerblading or biking or running or whatever it is. Like, try to find a healthy hobby that involves some exercise, especially if you're feeling angry a lot of the time. This can be super beneficial. Try to find workable solutions for yourself. So instead of focusing on whatever triggered your anger, work on finding a solution to the issue. So instead of staying angry, just do something about it, right? Anger is it's our get up and get moving emotion, right? We got to get up and we got to get shit done if we are going to, continue, if we are going to get over this. And so get up and do something about it. Figure out your solution to your problem that has made you so angry. Don't sit back and just let yourself be angry. Figure out your solution. So you have to recognize the things that are out of your control as well. That is a huge thing with finding workable solutions for yourself. You can't control everything. 9 times out of 10, the thing that made you angry, you probably can't control. And so you have to know what you can and cannot control and then work from there. The time you waste thinking about what you're going to do is just time wasted. Get up and get moving. Don't hold grudges. This is easier said than done, but holding grudges has more health implications for you than it does for the other person. Simple and easy as that. Not only are you taking up so much of your own energy to hold on to that grudge, you're just putting yourself in this emotional state of just toxic, just terrible. It's terrible. You're putting it on yourself because you're holding that grudge. And don't get me wrong, it is so hard to let go of things, and to forgive, which is my next point. We need to practice forgiveness. Forgiveness can look different for everybody, right? Sometimes we really do need to forgive a person or a scenario. Sometimes we need to forgive ourselves, and forgiveness is not an easy thing to do, when we are feeling quite extreme emotions as well. But once you are able to forgive, your anger will no longer drain your energy, and you're going to be able to have peace of mind, and you're going to be able to move on, and you basically are creating space in your mind for healthy feelings and emotions and things like that. So try to practice forgiveness. Easier said than done, I know, but it's such a beneficial way to let go of that resentment and anger. So let's see what else here. Own your anger. You need to learn how to control your anger before it starts to control you, especially if you feel like you have chronic anger. To do this, acknowledge when you're angry and remind yourself that you can get over it. Always remind yourself that this feeling won't last. It will only get as bad as you allow it to do. That's the thing. We do have control over what we're doing and our anger, our emotion that way. So the logic of our emotions doesn't always make sense. We might be holding on to some anger maybe from our childhood, and it's becoming all of a sudden apparent in your adult life. And so you have to own it. You have to take responsibility for your anger, so that you can be able to control it and help yourself out that way. Journal, reflect. I say that a million times. Write things down. Become more self-aware. Change your environment. Okay, I have a whole episode on how environments affect our entire lives, but sometimes your immediate surroundings are causing you to be angry, causing you irritation. Our emotions are automatically associated with our environments. So the elements in your environment may be making you feel more angry than you really are. Maybe you also have had an experience in that house that you're living in, or that office or something that you always feel angry at. But maybe you've had an experience there, and so every single time you go there, your brain is automatically associating that terrible experience or those bad emotions, and it's making you angry. So change your environment. Get a different environment and just see how much that changes your life, I swear. 2 more for you. Be assertive. Being assertive is a very important communication skill. And it's different than being aggressive. You can be assertive, and you don't have to be aggressive. When you are assertive, you are clearly expressing yourself. You're defending your point of view. You know, you're standing up for yourself. You're defending your ground. You're advocating for positive change, which is great. You're being assertive, and being assertive and channeling your anger into assertiveness is a really, I find, one of the most easy ways to try to channel anger is just standing up for yourself, and but being respectful. And I think being assertive is also, you know, it's definitely being true to yourself, standing up for yourself, but it's being respectful while you do it. So just, you know, assertive communication can just definitely help you also earn the respect from other people too, and it's going to boost your self-esteem. And so this shows, like, when you're confident and you feel good, you know, you don't have that anger emotion because you feel like you're doing good. You don't feel like there's anything to, you know, that you need to hold yourself back on. So this just is automatically going to reduce your stress. And now my last and easiest tip, I think, for you, is laugh. Just laugh. Have you ever had, you know, something that made you really angry and then someone tries to make you laugh and it kind of makes you more angry until they actually get a chuckle out of you, and then all of a sudden that transformation is insane. And it's true, because that moment of when you go from anger to laughter, it is the most healing and empowering thing that you can do for yourself. So if you're able to laugh about something, you are able to gain power over it instead of allowing it to have power over you. Remember, what can you control and what you can't control. If you find any humor in a situation that's making you angry, then you need to laugh. Or make your own kind of laugh, make your own kind of jokes, go on the internet, read some funny jokes, do something that's going to make you laugh, call up your friend that always cracks you up, do something to get a laugh out of you, because it is an insane transformation that is so healing and empowering. I hope that these tips made you feel like you can maybe handle your anger a little bit more, and I hope you understand that it is okay to be angry, and it is so normal right now with everything going on, but we can use it in beneficial ways for everybody. So keep standing your ground, you know, keep advocating for positive change in our world, keep defending yourself and defending others, and that is amazing, and anger will always power that, and anger will power you and motivate you to stand your ground and to advocate for positive change, and that is amazing. So channel your anger into that, into those positive things that you can do, down those positive pathways for positive change. It doesn't have to be aggressive, it doesn't have to be violent, it doesn't have to be hostile. It can be positive, and it can help you make a change in the world. So do it. Take your emotions, take your high emotions, and make a move. Change the world, change things for yourself, change things for others. We are so powerful, and our emotions are so powerful. Use them to your advantage. Okay, well, that is all the information that I have for you today. I really hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Thank you so much for listening to GSMC Life and Happiness podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Alyssa Jo. I appreciate you being here so much. Please do not forget to hit that subscribe button, like and follow us on social media. I update them constantly, as well as leave a 5-star review. It helps us out immensely, and I love reading the comments so much. I love seeing the reviews, so please leave a review, leave a comment. I will also try to get back with you. I would love to engage with you on social media, so hit the follow button, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you're always getting notified, and I just cannot wait to look forward to sharing more information with you next time. I can't wait. Well, stay safe, stay positive, and channel your energy into all the right positive places, because you can make a difference. And together we can all definitely make a difference. So keep doing what you're doing and stay positive. Till next time, thank you.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Life and Happiness Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find the show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows. From the GSMC Podcast Network, from sex and relationships to health and wellness, life and happiness, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Life and Happiness Podcast.